what's interesting to me as I'm working on this is I'm kind of feeling like the energy blockage I want to clear is just a little higher. It's right here. So I'm actually going to do this one. Can I do this one, David? Great. So again, I'm going to try and find the middle of the vertebra. Okay, new needle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you get to the connective tissue, do you stop right there or you go further?
No, you go through it.
Okay.
Right? And it's gummy, thick gummy feeling oftentimes, so you just want to kind of zap through it a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to go for this. This feels more like the actual energetic blockage that I want to work on right here. I may have been off in my count. His shoulders and neck are slightly differently shaped than some people's. Or it could just be that this is the one, but I'm not finding it yet. No, not yet on it. So let's that's exact. Well, let's move that away. Okay. Thanks. There we go. Let's see what this does. Nice, beautiful. Yeah. Right in. Right in. Now, bear in mind, this needle is this long, right? So I am that far in.
An inch.
A good inch.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, which is nice. So how is that, David? Lot of redness coming out. And this feels to me like it's releasing his energy much better than the last needle. You felt the difference and could see it. Yeah, me too. So it could be that I was doing Tao Dao and not with Governor Muscle 13, not Governor Muscle 14, or it could be I'm actually one above Governor Muscle 14, but this just is the more, point to release. That's what I thought.
One was irritating, the other wasn't.
I know, when that needle went, it was like a hot knife going through butter for a good inch. It's very interesting. How are you feeling, David? All right. Now, when you're needling the dew channel points here, you've got to put pillows underneath the person's tummy. I don't really want to do any more points on David than I just did. But if I was going to be needling, especially like, people want to do Ming Men, and you could just do it a couple of millimeters just above the point, that's fine. But if you wanted to do it a little bit deeper, make sure that their lumbar spine is curving outwards, not inwards. Otherwise, you're going to try and push the needle through something really tight, and it's going to be really painful and uncomfortable and weird, right? And not a good experience. And that kind of needle trauma in the small of the back is very traumatizing, whether the patient is needle sensitive or, built like a, brick shit house. They're not going to like the experience. So you want to try to make sure that you've got good kyphosis wherever you go deeper into the dew channel. Okay. I kind of want to leave you with that needle for a little while, David. How do you feel about that?
I'd need heat on my back.
You need heat on your back. So let's. Michelle's going to bring you a heat lamp, or even 2 heat lamps, and I'm going to keep talking about other stuff, or maybe not. Do we have are there any other questions? Burning questions? Yeah.
Does the energy ride up the needle, and or does the energy just disperse itself? Like, you know what I mean?
What you can observe on needles is you can observe like micro movement, and sometimes it's not micro. Sometimes it's like the needle is. Sometimes you look at it and it just makes no sense. The whole body is still, and you got this needle just kind of vibrating or twirling or doing something. It's interesting because the art of acupuncture is that here's his physical body, and then there's the chi body and the shen body and all that other type of subtle energy. But those subtle energies also go inwards as well as outwards. And the acupuncture needle kind of it's a trajectory through the different energetic layers of a person. And it can cause energy to release outwards, pathological energy, shear chi, negative energy. Or, you could also use the needle as your trajectory to bring a certain type of energy in. Now in his case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it vent energy outwards because that's what it's wanting to do. But there could be many situations. I'm not touching the needle, but I'm just supporting the energy movement out. There are many situations where you might put a needle in and then you would actually want to encourage the energy to go in. Okay. Now you might formalize that with an actual way of turning it or twisting it, which people might call tonification, but really it's, are you putting energy in or are you pulling it out? It's
Okay.
just, that's the only two sort of dynamics that you really recommend. Or are you just moving the energy, like a sort of smoothing, moving, technique, like this needling on the back, where we're just opening the flow, right? So.
So are you using Moxa quite a bit on that?
Oh yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
use a lot of Moxa. I don't use very much Moxa on needles, and I probably should, because I think Moxa on needles is an amazing technique. But I burnt some patients and became really phobic about it, and just ended up not wanting to do Moxa on needles very much. So then I got those little Moxa things,
Yeah.
the stick-on ones,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I really burned somebody. It's like it was a crazy burn, and so at this point I'm like, okay, I just can't handle this anymore. Me and fire. I mean, it was the same when I was a child. I was always lighting fires, and bad ones too. So, is that on YouTube? So I don't do it anymore, and I don't do it on my pictures anymore. So as a result of all of that, I'm just a little like, okay, I can handle indirect Moxa.
Yeah, that's
I'm
it,
pretty
yeah.
good with it. But and direct Moxa applications kind of freak me out. So I know that that they're great. They're really useful. I just don't use them very much. Questions? The back, the spine. We don't have questions. Cool.
But one, like I asked,
Yeah.
is that's what you said, like if you see like an pernicious energy moving to the organs, then you use the back shoe? Or
That's what the Neijing says in this one little, very brief comment on the back shoe points, and there's very few comments on the back shoe points in Neijing. It says, when there's a more kind of serious energy moving towards the zhang, towards the inner organ, then treat the back shoe points.
Like
It actually says treat the back shoe points. It's sort of a double statement.
So like if in a clinic, what kind of, like just examples, like
yeah.
indications would make you do the
Make me do.
back treatment?
Well, for me, because I'm more of a palpatory practitioner, I'm going to palpate the back, because this is a way that the patient feels like they're getting a massage, and I'm getting a lot of information. I mean, different practitioners have different strengths when it comes to how they gather information. Like some practitioners get it all brilliantly from the pulse. You don't want to take my pulse seminar, because I'm not very good with the pulses. I'm pretty good at looking at somebody and tuning in and knowing what's going on, and I'm pretty good at palpation. So I use palpation and massage of the back in order to find out what's going on. And of course I'm also palpating all the other channels. I'm also doing chi palpation, which is different than physical palpation, and I do that on most of my patients too. I do chi palpation of the channels, and then physical palpation of different systems, like maybe a few channels, or maybe the back, maybe the belly. I do a lot of palpation because I like it. So I might select back points based on it's like, whoa, it's a glaring issue, right? Oh my goodness, when the liver is congested and intense, the back will really swell up over the liver area. It's quite visible. You can actually get down and look at it and go, wow, it's completely, it's completely swollen. It's normal for everybody to have a little bit higher on the right side because of the liver anyway. But on somebody with a lot of liver qi congestion, it's really, really dramatic. So I'm determining whether or not I use back points, sometimes just based on palpatory findings. How to decide whether or not you're going to do a back treatment or a front treatment. There's a few different things you can think about. One thing you can think about is it a yang excess? Because the back is actually quite good for clearing heat and clearing yang excesses. And that's just, that's because it's the yang surface of the body. And so there are quite a lot of different traditions in Chinese medicine of clearing different types of fire toxin, heat toxin, through working on the back. Having said that, there's also traditions in traditional Chinese medicine of tonifying deficiency from working on the back, specifically, especially the zhang shoe points. And also there's traditions of calming the shen from working on the back. Right? So, I don't feel one has to be too limited with it. But I don't limit myself to the back by any means. I probably do back treatments 30. What percentage of my treatments are back treatments? Or what percentage of my treatments contain the back? Do you know?
60, yeah.
60, 70%. But what percentage of my treatments are just the back?
40.
40, okay, yeah. So there we are. I'm using the back maybe 70% of the time, exclusively 40% of the time, which means I'm also a lot of the time doing front treatments as well, or just doing front treatments, right? It's like half of you. Why only do it 5% of the time? It's half of the human body. Any other questions? Any questions?
How does metal relate to air?
Say that again?
Metal energy relate to air? I remember you saying
I'm sorry, metal?
metal relating to air.
Oh, yes, it's a good question. It's a complex question. How is metal related to air? Well, in the Chinese way of breaking down the different transformations of substance, they, in a sense, they're more physical, right? They look at metal, wood, and earth. And something about the 5 elements in Chinese medicine that is never really commented on, and it's, of course, it's so obvious, is that when you look at the 5 elements in the Kerr cycle, right, when you look at the cycle of metal chops wood, wood covers earth, earth sucks up water, water puts out fire, that's a density ordering, right? It's a density ordering. Metal is the most dense, metal chops wood. Wood is the next most dense, right? And wood covers earth or penetrates earth. Earth is the next most dense, and earth soaks up water. Water is more dense than fire, and water puts out fire. Fire is the least dense. So you're going from metal to wood to earth to water to fire as a density ordering, right? And practically speaking, metal, wood, and earth are all kind of solid. And then, relatively speaking, the relative degrees of solidity. And then water is, liquid, and fire is what it is. So in the Chinese 5-element ordering, you've got 3 elements which are actually kind of dense and solid, which in a sense matches the Chinese tendency, traditionally, to really be attentive to the material plane. Right? China has always been considered an earth culture in many ways, and they're always very practical and very sort of connected to the earth plane. In other cultures, they've looked at those divisions and those distinctions through a different lens, and so you have different orderings. So, for example, in the Vedic system, you've got an element ordering which is earth. Could somebody do the Vedic ordering for me? Anybody know it exactly? Okay, I'll try to. It's earth, water, fire, air, and space. Akasha, right? Now, if you think about that ordering, earth, water, fire, air, and space, there's a lot more spacey stuff, airy stuff, right? That's also a density ordering, isn't it? Earth is the most dense, and then water is less dense, and then fire is less dense, and then air is even less dense, and then space is just, who knows, that's like completely undense, right? So in the Indian system, they're looking at a 5-element system, but they're looking at a different set of densities, perhaps reflecting their culture, which was very much about the upper chakras, for example, and the sort of upper development. So in the Chinese system, they're sort of held more to the lower vibration of things. So it's metal, wood, earth, water, fire. And so then, well, what about air? Well, we're dealing with a 5-fold system, and so air is just like, air would be, if this was an octave, like if metal, wood, earth, water, fire was an octave, then the next octave up, metal at the next level up, the next pentad up, I guess one would say, would be air, right? And that first level of metal at that higher group of functioning is air, and then the next one up from that would be wood, right? And then but the higher level of wood is wind. So if we wanted to kind of extend it, we would go metal, wood, earth, water, fire, air, wind, space, and then I don't know what the 2 corresponding to water and fire at that higher octave level, so to speak, would be. But you see how different cultures took different slices of the pie according to their different predilections towards different levels of density ordering.
Yeah.
Did that make sense? Did that answer your question?
It did.
Yeah, cool. More questions? Yes?
Chi palpation.
Say it again?
What is chi palpation?
Chi palpation is different. Let me just check on it. David, are you doing okay? Yeah, good. Chi palpation is you're feeling the chi, right? So you can feel the chi. I'm just going to touch you for a minute, David. Let's say I wanted to feel the chi of David's kidney channel connected to his kidney organ. I could touch his kidney channel, I could touch his kidney organ, and then I'm going to go into Qigong mode, which means that my perceptual process is going to extend through my fingers into his body, and I'm going to feel if his kidney chi is connected up into his kidneys, for example. That's chi palpation. I'm not pressing, I'm not digging around, I'm not searching for nodules and lumps and going, wow, look at that wart or that, tattoo or whatever. I'm just feeling energy with a very light touch, right? You could also feel energy with no touch. A lot of Qigong practitioners do that. For the purposes of working with acupuncture channels, I tend to want to use a light touch on certain points. And so I'll go through 24 channels, 12 channels on each side doing a light touch. And because I've been doing it for 20 years, I can do it pretty fast. And essentially, the first thing that I'm feeling for is yes, no, full empty, presence or absence of a feeling of some energy. And then if I feel an energy, then that's often a sign that the channel is good. And if I feel no energy, it could be that the channel is deficient, or it could be that I'm actually upstream of a blockage. Because if I've got a channel of energy and it's moving up like this, and I don't feel it up here, it could be because it's blocked at the knee, or it's blocked where he has an injury, or something like that. So not feeling the chi in a channel could be a blockage, or it could be a deficiency. Right? Feeling the chi in the channel generally is a good thing, but then also sometimes some channels get excess. And then different channels have different tendencies towards an excess or a deficiency of chi. So that's a whole technique to figure out the chi rather than just figuring it out through physical reflexes, to figure it out just through energetic connection. More questions?
When is that class going?
What?
When are you going to teach that class?
Probably in a few months.
Okay.
Or not. I'm thinking I want to teach physical palpation and then chi palpation. Like physical palpation of the acupuncture channels, fundamentally on the limbs, to get information out of the body. And then maybe after that I'll do chi palpation. Or maybe I should do the two together. I don't know. Could be a lot. I'm not sure. Questions? Okay. We're approaching kidney time. I can feel it a little bit. 4:43, yeah. So we've got about 20 more minutes. What I want to do is show you a Qigong for healing the spine from Bruce Francis. Okay? So we're going to move those massage tables out of the way. We're going to go back over there. We're going to go do a Qigong. Once we've done the Qigong, I want you to fill out an evaluation for the state board, and then you will get your certificate of completion.